Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Today, I feel like there's just so much to catch you guys up on, and it has been just such a beautiful season of rest and recovery and growth and pure joy, to be honest. I think that for me personally, thinking about how I'm now a mom to 3 is just sort of wild. I would have never pulled that from my bingo card, but here we are. And it is something that is feeling so good, to the point where I'm like, I can't believe I almost didn't do this. And some of you may remember, and you can look it up. Maybe we'll put the episode in the show notes of how I talked about going from 0 to 1 kids is one episode, and then going from 1 to 2 and just the differences that I noticed. And so today I wanted to talk through kind of a life update and how it's really going from 2 kids to now 3 kids, like having a full crew that we roll deep with everywhere we go, everywhere we travel, like we're rolling deep in the car, and just feels so good. And for me, I did have a lot of fear to work through, especially when it came down to thinking about being pregnant for a 3rd time, because as most of you know, my pregnancies are very challenging and very hard. I think all pregnancies are very challenging mentally, and some are also very physically challenging, which mine are. I had hyperemesis for 2 of my 3 pregnancies, and with the other pregnancy, it was extremely hard until 3rd trimester. So I think knowing that in the context, if you're new around here or just listening, that the perspective that I have on motherhood is so deeply formed by my experience of pregnancy. Pregnancy is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And so deciding to even try for a 3rd baby, knowing that going through pregnancy again was going to be part of that journey, took a lot of time. It took me probably a full year to really work through what are my actual fears. I write them down on paper. Are those actually true? Am I making them up? Is there anything we can do about those things to take the edge off or ease the pain a little bit or make things a little smoother? And I'm so glad that I did that, because all of that work and mental preparation I had going into it really was expecting the worst case scenario. And it turned out that that was what happened. And I think coming out of a season like that, where I was struggling for my life, struggling to take a sip of water, let alone trying to take a bite of food, in bed for 5 to 6 months in a row, not able to work, not able to really see my kids, not able to be a part of any part of my life, especially the parts of my life that brought me joy, that has such an impact on my lens of motherhood. And so I think that's important to say at the top of this episode, because I know that so many people, and maybe especially first-time moms, but even for the 2nd or 3rd time, that the postpartum season is so tender, and it can have so many different things going on that really challenge us to grow and challenge us to expand our capacity and grow into the mother that we are supposed to be for our kids. And oftentimes there's a little bit of initiation that happens to get there. But needless to say, it usually can be a very tender time, a very challenging time for some. And for me, I think postpartum is the best time in the world. I'm not kidding you when I say that. I am not just being overly positive. I love the postpartum phase. Yes, it's not all great. There are some parts to it that are a little tricky or just different than your norm, but to me, it is like the biggest celebration that I did it. And I walked through the fire. I walked through the hard time. I really had to become the strongest version of myself mentally to get to the place, right, of even thinking about pregnancy, let alone walking through the pregnancies. So by the time I get to the end of it and having a baby and she's healthy and she's perfect, it is like, I don't even care. Nothing can faze me or take me down after walking through that. And so it's also a good reminder too that every woman experiences it so differently depending on your perspective and what things have happened or the things that you have already had to work through. I really do think that for every woman going through the stage of thinking about wanting to have kids, that there is always one part of the journey that is extremely hard and going to push you to your limits and feeling like you can't do this and you're not made for this and there's too much and it's too overwhelming and it's too hard. Whether that's fertility itself and trying to get pregnant, whether it's in the first trimester just feeling sick and out of it and you cannot perform or be or do any of the things that you previously were able to do, whether it's in the pregnancy, there's so many different complications or things that can happen, and the way that we're supposed to weather those storms mentally or physically in your body, there's always at least one part that really, really brings us to our knees and is really challenging. And I think there's something beautiful about that. So all that to say, I have been thriving. I really have. There is not one day where I don't take a sip of water and think, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I am so grateful I can drink water again. I am so grateful I can go out on a walk. I don't even care if it's raining, because to me, to be outside in the fresh air, what a joy, what a gift, like what a privilege that is to be walking around with my baby who is healthy. So to me, I think your perspective and where you're coming from and what you've been through really frames how we think of something as this is hard or this is no problem, I've got this. And I think it's one of the things that ultimately, when we were talking and trying to decide, do we want to go for a third baby or not, it all came down to this one phrase that once I wrote it down, I thought, that's it. And the phrase was, I'm up for the challenge. That's a lot of the way of how I view my life. There's this thing, it's big, it's beautiful, it could just feel so juicy and right. And I'd be so happy spending my time and my life doing this. And then we get stuck in all the what if and what could go wrong and all the possibilities and all the ways that it would be hard or all the fears that come up, and seeing things in a way of, all right, yeah, those things may all be true, but I'm up for the challenge. And I really am. Like, I look at so many parts of my life and that is my mindset. Starting a business, I'm up for the challenge. I know it's not going to be easy, but the best things in life are rarely easy and handed to you. So I say all of that as a caveat, because my experience of postpartum is this way doesn't mean that other people's are. And oftentimes they're not. And that's actually why we want to share about it, is because to me, it always feels like so much of the story around motherhood is that you're depleted, that it's horrible, that you lose yourself, that you're just exhausted all of the time, that you're completely sucked dry of your patience, of your energy, of sleep. And I think there's different lenses that we can look at things, different stories that we can tell. Like, is it something where you want to rise to the occasion and it's a challenge and I'm up for a challenge? It's like a little bit more of a lighthearted way to look at some things that doesn't let fear dictate your life and doesn't let the what ifs stop you from going for things that you really do want to do or create or be a part of your life and of your legacy. So postpartum, I'm loving it. I will say, I think that Rosie is a magical baby. She truly is. And I think too, if any of you are listening who have ever had HG or very, very challenging pregnancies, that the babies that come after those are honestly miracles. And I remember this with June, my daughter too, where everything just felt so much easier once she was here. Like a little bit less sleep, who cares? All the things that would maybe have been a very big challenge with my first, I'm kind of like, who cares? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you just see things from a higher level view, especially with your second or third or any after that. So I'm feeling so good and so light, and that assuredness of, wow, my intuition was right on. This is something that I really did want, and feeling very proud of working through the fears and uncertainties that I had, because now I can't imagine not having a third baby. I can't imagine my life without her. It feels like our family is so complete. And I didn't have that feeling before. And I know that there's so many different conversations and people have different opinions on this. Do you ever really feel done, especially if you're a baby person and loves babies like I do? I am treasuring this stage. I love the newborn stage. I love the baby stage. It's such a just tender, sweet time, and it's so fleeting. I love everything about it, truly. It just feels so right. So maybe if this is something that you have been thinking about in your own life, I know that there have been so many of you that after I share those other 2 episodes wrote in and were like, oh my gosh, me too. I've been thinking through this. How do I tell if this is something that I want? How do I tell if we're done? It's obviously very individual, and how you come to the conclusions of those, I do think requires some deep work and intention and some time with yourself and being really honest and praying and giving yourself some time to really think through things. What is your intuition and what actually feels aligned to you and your life versus are all the reasons not to more coming from fear instead of looking at all the possibility and all the potential too. So I would say it's going great. It has been one of the most magical seasons of my life. And I think I've just been enjoying it and savoring it. I would say when we go from 1 to 2, that felt like a much bigger change than going from 0 to 1. Going from 1 to 2 requires a lot more scale and requires more systems and it requires more help. You're having to split your time and energy in different ways. It's like you have one parent for each child. You're dividing and conquering a lot of different things and needing to ask for more help or getting more help. So many of those things were the big transitions for me going from 1 to 2 kids. But I think from going from 2 to 3, you already have your systems in place. You already got the ways that you scale, the ways that you're working as a team together with you and your partner, the ways that you get help in your household or with childcare or with the things that you need to do. It just requires having a bit more of a village. You get better at being flexible and not holding on to as tight of a schedule, knowing that things are very unpredictable with kids. There's just a certain level of scale when you already have 2 kids or more. And so adding in a third one, I've actually been surprised. Is this going to crumble everything to the ground? But it feels like, no, we still have the same systems. We may have to tweak a few of them here or there, but it really hasn't felt like a different mental load up until this point. And I'm saying this, yes, she's still a baby. At this point of this recording, she's 7 months old. So as she grows, there will be more of that mental configuration going on. But like I said, I'm up for the challenge. I don't look at things in my life thinking, oh my God, this is going to be so hard. This is impossible. This is horrible. I look at it like, all right, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out as it comes because we always do, because that's our mentality, because we're figured out people. We are smart. We are capable. We can come up with creative solutions. I wouldn't be an entrepreneur if I wasn't into problem solving or being open to look at things in a different way. So I will say, I think another thing I have noticed beyond, yep, your systems are still there. Maybe a few things change or get added. The thing that does change is that there is much more required of your partner. If you have more traditional, quote unquote, what is that even anymore? But like more traditional roles in the house, I think going from 2 to 3 does require that you have a partner who is fully on board and fully game for whatever it takes, whatever logistics, whatever ways they can help and jump in and being comfortable taking all 3 kids. I think that energy in a person and that personality is so helpful. And one of the factors to think through is your partner into the idea of 3 and into chaos and also in that we'll just figure it out mentality. I am so blessed with Kyle in my life. He is absolutely that way and was one of the big factors in talking together. I know that he will be there and can jump in and can help figure stuff out and can get creative and is not above doing things that are outside of maybe his normal day-to-day things in order to make it work. Nothing has been too much of a surprise. All of this I've been anticipating. Obviously, things are a little bit more chaotic. Like our house is messier. There's always dishes in the sink. There's 8 different areas where you can follow the trail of the kids. My kids are all still young. They're all under 6 years old. There are little pockets of what they were doing in the books, and that leads to the magnet tiles. And then there's the Lego corner. There's stuff all over. We have just gotten better at my need to control things and just fully sinking into the season of fingerprints on the window and tiny toys under your feet. And it's not perfect, but how beautiful this is their childhood, and all of this comes back, I think, to your mindset and the way that you're choosing to think about things and the stories that you're telling about the things you see going on in front of you, what you're making it mean. I think that has been a big edge of growth for me, of being okay with that and prioritizing what I want to prioritize. Like having 3 is making me look at, okay, here's all the things I really want to be spending my time with. Here's all the ways I'm wanting to pour into myself or my health or my mental health, or taking care of the kids, like being a present mom, running my business. All of those things don't always happen at the same time. And there's oftentimes so many moments where I have to think to myself, what is my priority in this moment? And there's some things that are going to have to slide in order for me to keep pouring into myself in the ways that matter to me most this season. And that is always changing. And so it's a dynamic thing, but always asking myself that question, like, what is the most important thing right now, can really help me when I'm in the moment of like, should I be cleaning up? Should I do the dishes? Or should I go out for a walk right now? Because I have this 20-minute window of time before I pick up or whatever. I can make this happen for myself. And then I think through, how will I feel at the end of the day if I choose to walk? How will I feel at the end of the day if I prioritize the cleaning of the mess? And sometimes it's the cleaning of the mess, but more often than not, have been getting so much better at seeing the windows of time, taking them for regeneration and filling my cup and filling my soul, and that mental health boost. Fresh air and walks really help me do that. I usually always have a stroller with me or somebody biking with me, but making that happen instead of sitting in all the reasons why I can't, or there's not enough time, or it won't be worth it, or the house is so messy, and that stresses me out too. But really, really helps refine you if you have control issues. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I just try to remind myself of that. Like, it is beautiful to be refined in your control and to be able to go with the flow, or learn how to go with the flow a little bit more, get focused on the priorities and hold those tight, and everything else can go. There's going to be other stages of life where I will have the ability to do more and focus on other areas, but I do love the process of refinement that motherhood brings out, where you have limited hours in the day, especially limited hours to be pouring into yourself. But as a mother, I think that's required. If I was okay feeling depleted and resentful and angry and tired, but I've made a promise to myself that's not the kind of mom that I want to be. And so I act in ways, and have really had to work on my inner game for this, of what ways aligned with the way that I do want to be, the way I do want to show up, and the things that I do want to prioritize. So I just think it's a beautiful refinement at all the stages of motherhood. But I think adding more children, you obviously get more examples of that. You start to hopefully get better at that overall. I just feel like I have a little bit more grace with myself this time around. Even in things like work, I'm still drawn to work, but I'm drawn to different things and fewer things in my work right now. Getting clear on myself, what do I want to be focused on? What is life giving for me right now? And it may look very different than how it has in the past or even a year ago, but giving myself that permission and freedom to, like, okay, what are the things that are lighting me up? Like, what are the areas I want to be focusing on? Because I don't have all the time in the day. Let's focus on the things that are most meaningful, and the things that matter, and the things that help the most people, going a little bit deeper with people instead of trying to reach everybody and everything. And I was just looking back on my notes, and that my notes to myself always say, the first 18 months, you are just in a different bubble. Things are different than how they ever are. You don't really ever feel back fully in your body, fully in your mind, fully back in your energy, fully back with your full capacity until 18 months. And I don't know if that's different for some of you, but for me, that has been very true. Like, it takes about 18 months to be out of that constantly needed, to be feeding, to be thinking about their schedule, their logistics, their wake windows, the sleep. There's just so many things going on that it's almost impossible to be fully back, or expecting yourself to be fully back in any area of your life, whether that's working out or with your health or it's with your work. You're going to have smaller pockets of time. And so really focusing on the things that matter or move the needle or change your energy or change your state or that feel more life-giving to you, like, that has been everything to me right now. And also, like I was talking about in the beginning of the episode, of not letting the all or nothing voices kill me and really dictate what I'm doing. I do have this window of time I'm going to sit down and do it. And it may not be perfect and it may not be all up to my full expectations, but that's okay. This is about the act and it's about the energy of doing something. And that creates a ripple effect for in your life more than it is even about doing the actual thing, that you're sitting down to in the first place. With that, the other thing I've really noticed is the change with my health and workouts that I have been able to get back to doing them more consistently than I ever have before. And right now it's prioritizing a lot of strength. So I'm prioritizing Pilates because I, in the past, had issues with my back and I had a herniated disc right around the time when my second child was around this age, like 6 to 9 months. So since that time, I have prioritized every single day doing strength exercises and foam rolling in the morning, just to remind my body what to do. I think after 3 kids, there's a lot that I need to remind my core of what to do and how to work again. I've been doing reformer Pilates. I feel like it's changed my life. I really do. It feels like such a perfect workout for what my body needs, which is strength and stability, and doing so in a short window of time. Like a 45-minute workout can carry me for days and really feels like it's doing a lot. And I'm trying to think, what is the big difference? Why am I able to go to a class maybe twice a week? Whereas before I was all about the baby's schedule. I think, again, this comes down to the control side of things, where before I used to think, well, I can't interrupt her sleep schedule or nap or patterns. And I think with a third kid, they're just in the chaos all the time. They'll catch a nap when they can. They're used to sleeping in the car seat. They're used to sleeping on the go. They get what they need. They make it happen without so much meddling and worrying about it. And I think that's very true with anyone who I talk to who has threes. Like the third kid, they've just figured it out and they're pretty relaxed and they go with the flow because they have to. And I think this difference, even this one example of being able to go to a workout class, I used to think, well, it has to be the perfect time because I'm breastfeeding. So I'm like, it has to be the perfect time that I can feed, and then between their naps and then between this. And this time it's like, okay, if I have to wake her up from a nap a little bit early so that I get the feed in and then I'm able to go to the class, I just plan that in my day and it's okay. So I think I'm just a little bit less precious about that and letting go of routines. I still very much watch wake windows. I think that's the most helpful thing you can do, especially when it comes to sleep. I definitely prioritize sleep. Let me tell you, sleep for the baby, sleep for me in this season is huge. And so I watch those wake windows because I really do think that matters, and feeding as much as I can during the day so that she's fed and doesn't need to get those calories at night. It's required more flexibility on my part and letting go of some of the control. It's learning things along the way. Like in the beginning, 2 to 3 months, my only job as I'm taking maternity leave is to be producing milk. And I pump for those first 3 months anytime I can, anytime there's extra. And then I have this backup stash that if I am out, or if she does wake up early, or if something happens and someone else is watching her, that like we've got backup milk until the time I can come back and do it. So I say that I know everyone's schedule is different. Everyone's work is different. For me, this has been a very different feeling thing. And it feels really good to have those reminders of taking care of yourself. And honestly, even the drive to the workout is fueling for me in so many ways because I'm by myself and that rarely happens. But that's how I'm prioritizing my alone time right now. That's how I'm getting it. It looks like the 2 workouts a week that we plan in, that I arrange help for, or someone else to watch, or time when the other kids are in school. Like that is how I'm prioritizing alone time, even more than work, even more than time spent on anything else. And I think that is really helping me because it hits so many different things of what I need to be refueled with. And it's mental, it's physical, it's working on making my body stronger again. There's that 1 hour of alone time. There's so much about motherhood that just restructures your whole vision of time and it passing fast or slow and what you do with that time. So that has definitely been a huge thing. Other than that, just prioritizing walking whenever I can, that I make it happen for myself because of how it is life-giving to me, to my body. It resets me. We're all in the fresh air. Just a lot of prioritizing my health in this season, a lot of prioritizing the things that are giving versus the things that are depleting, because I think naturally it's a season of depletion, especially after a pregnancy. So focusing a lot on what can I do to be replenishing. So replenishing my mental capacity, my muscle, lots of different supplements. I'm not like a huge fan of supplements all the time, but in the 18 months after a pregnancy, I am huge on it. I am taking all kinds of things to replenish my body because so much is being given out at this time, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so that has been the theme of this season for me. And it's always a great clarifying question when in doubt or choosing between two different things. Is this replenishing? Is this draining? And really trying to focus on the things that are more life-giving in so many different areas of life. I will say too that there have been times where I've noticed like, wow, I really have grown a lot. I've just grown a lot personally since having my first. And I think a lot of that is the control stuff. A lot of that is more feminine energy versus the masculine energy, where it's about go, 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 and you're doing things nonstop. And it's about checking off lists every day and being the most productive you can and the achievement oriented, goal oriented. But I had the time and the stage in my life for that. And that's how I ran every day, especially starting and running a business. And now I'm in a different phase where it's about being more peaceful and being more in the flow. Things could be completely different than how the day was originally planned, and being okay with that. And that sort of flexibility with mind has been huge. And I feel like that was a big learning curve with a second child. But then now even more, I see how much I've grown in that area where I really do feel more at ease when things don't go as planned. I feel a little bit more, this is what I'm doing. It's about presence and less of achievement, less of checking things off, and more about the energy I'm bringing to my kids, to my work, to myself and my family right now. So it's a little bit more of an internal time and embracing that. I also think that all of the work I have done on healing my nervous system, especially in the last 5-6 years since having kids, is really paying off in this moment, because it is chaotic. It is messy, but having a more regulated, calm nervous system has been helping. So I think all of these things have been so helpful in why this season has felt so wonderful and so beautiful. And it's really something I can actually enjoy fully. We have no plans to have more kids. Like 3 is it and done. I do not want to be pregnant again. And that's feeling so good. But I think all of these things are coming together to create this result of how I'm feeling right now. And so I just wanted to share that. I think there's so much that we see about motherhood that it's this, struggle and drain, and it's impossible to do it and feel well and try to take care of yourself. But I think it is possible. Maybe it just takes thinking about it differently and working on yourself and like being really aware of all of the internal stuff, the stories you're bringing, like your past experiences, being clear on how you really want it to be, that it can be different than maybe how you were modeled or how you see it modeled in society. How do you want to be as a mom? That is possible to create. It does take intention. It does take checking in with yourself, getting honest with yourself. It does take a lot of reflection, but I do think that it is possible. And I hope that this is encouraging to hear that. And I know that there are so many of you that have been saying, also thinking about this, what was your thought process behind it? And so I just wanted to share now from the other side, going through, looking back, I just feel like 10 out of 10. I highly recommend it. I love that we did this. I'm so happy. It's taught me so much. It's refining me. It's growing me, but I was up for that. I am up for the challenge, whatever that may be, however this is supposed to shape me into a better person. I really think is worth paying attention to. All that to say, that's how is it going with 3 kids? How is it feeling from the other side? And I'm just happy to report back that it is one of the best decisions I've ever made, not because it's perfect, not because it's so easy, but I think because of who it's making me become. I hope that this was helpful for you in some way. I hope it's something that if you know somebody going through a similar stage or similar season, or obviously everybody's own personal lived experience is so different, but I think it is helpful to see other examples of things that we don't see talked about in the media or messaging or movies, or how we saw a different generation doing it, I think can be so helpful for our brains to know that it is possible to have an impact on how your life is feeling and how you're creating it and how you're moving towards the things that you want with a little bit less fear and a little bit more possibility. I love you guys so much. I'm so happy to be back. Let me know if there are questions that you have about this episode or any things you want to follow up on, or this triggers any other questions or thoughts on motherhood or life with 3 kids. Let me know over at Simply Real Health on Instagram. And with that, we'll see you back here later. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.